Hello there, people, and welcome back to ZSR. We have another match for you here tonight. We have got some amazing commentators, some amazing trackers, and some amazing racers who will keep you organized on what all is happening. You guys, take it away.
Yeah, I'm Amazing Ampharos here with Walther. We're both here to commentate this exciting match. We have a winners round 2 match between SuperNinTaylor and Marcnificent, which, as Marcnificent's file name suggests, should be full of some spicy meatballs. What are your thoughts, Walther?
Yeah, this is going to be a super hype one. I know both of these runners very well personally, so I'm super interested in that case, and I also know both these runners are really good, so it should be a good game.
Yeah, I'm not really familiar with Marcnificent as a player. I know S&T is very strong in normal randomizers, but he's had a bit of a learning curve on entrance. But the thing with those learning curves is you cross over them in a hurry, so we'll see what happens here today.
Yeah, for sure. Looks like both of them are starting with the exactly same path, just heading up to the uncle straight away, doing a triple.
Yeah, this is a very prevalent opening in traditional open modes. You don't see it super often in entrance, but you do see it sometimes, and it looks like it's had a decent payoff today with the bombs in that Tier 1 triple.
Yeah, it's pretty much what you're looking for early on. Always nice to have bumps when you don't have a lot of guaranteed ways of getting it. I actually end up favoring doing Uncle with a triple a lot more often than in open mode.
Yeah, I usually prefer to check triples kind of in the northwest if Sank lets me, and I always check the Uncle drop from the drop and just pray it's not Ganon, but certainly this route gets a lot of upside when Uncle is vanilla.
Yeah. We see Mark going for some sick throwing the red guards bombs against the blue guards in order to set up another triple. And SuperNinTaylor did a little bit of that as well, but used the pushes instead. We find pretty interesting early entrance here. Not sure why SuperNinTaylor was trying to set up that bomb jump, because we don't really have the big key yet, so...
Well, S&T was trying to do the bomb jump that would just let him take the connector out of the eye lasers, but it's pretty likely at this point in the game that connector is going to spit you out somewhere stupid like Dark World, so I'm not really sure that it's worth it.
Yeah, I was just interested because he's tried to set up the bomb jump to get over to the big chest instead of the other bomb jump just to get straight over to lasers. But yeah, he gave up on that, but they're still following each other's footsteps. We'll see how long that keeps happening.
This is also a bit surprising as both are prioritizing the eastern area over CAC, which it's not a bad play. You see a lot of players make this move, but it's not the immediately obvious play, which is why it's kind of surprising to see both runners choose it at the same time.
And SuperNinTaylor is not gonna go and clear out the escape yet. I kind of like that in one way. Like, they do have the bombs in order to do it, but they don't know actually where Sanctuary is yet, so having the decision about stealing the key or not, it's not really easy to make at this point.
Yeah, like, Marcnificent's just going for it, but if we have Sank at the Lumberjack tree, like, you know, I like to joke about people being scared of this, that, or the other. Oh, he's scared of Ice Palace, he's scared of Swamp. You know, being scared of Aga 1 actually makes a lot of sense, because you're not getting checks most of the way up that tower.
Yeah, and finding both of those keys can be a real pain sometimes as well. So let's see. Yeah, Mark is not going to steal the key, which I think makes sense if you're going for just diving straight in here. I kind of agrees that he should probably go all the way. And odds are in his favor that most of the times, their sanctuary won't be in pyramid or behind the lumberjack tree. So hopefully, for his sake, that ends up being true this run. Ooh, now that's a pretty spicy check to have in Sanctuary, getting Mirror. It's arguably one of the best items you can get in early on in Cross Keys. And it looks like Mark got rewarded in one sense at least. Yeah, back of escape is going to be very easy to get to.
If you find the Hyrule Castle small key before both Castle Tower keys, it didn't matter anyway. But in this case, yeah, Sank's easy. Has your mirror. I personally am of the school of thought mirror's hands down your number one item. It's in a lot of ways even better than Pearl, because Pearl lets you do a lot more stuff, but only mirror lets you combine checks and avoid walks, you know?
Yeah, I think that's a pretty reasonable way of looking at it.
Oh man, my heart goes out to Marcnificent there, because I have never seen another runner other than myself do what he just did there, which is throw the bomb to blow up when Hookshot Cave going backward through it. It bounces and misses the wall by about a pixel. Yeah. I swear I do that every other run, and I've never seen anyone else do it.
I've had that happening a couple of times lately, but never before, so I'm not sure what I'm doing differently now, but it was a little bit unfortunate because that meant that Mark had to use his last bomb now as well. So hopefully he won't find anything important that he needs to bomb here. Well, there's another one of those entrances for Hyrule Castle. So we know where two of those connectors goes to. We don't know where the last exit goes to quite yet.
There's Desert Final, which Mark elects not to steal the key. I don't really see... I'm personally a big believer you should steal the key whether you intend to use it or not, just to keep your options open, but it's probably not going to make that big of a deal. S&T side, we find Swamp. We get a hint that's probably not going to be too important. Just means that the brewery has a storyteller. One of those kinds of hints runners often forget right after getting them and are never worse off for it. Another little observation we can make here is that rupee crabs give 20 rupees per drop, which is really nice. You usually don't really need a lot of rupees, but it basically means you can just stop worrying about them as a resource, because to whatever extent you do need them, you're going to be able to farm them super easily. Whereas S&T side, we see the beginning of loaded CAC with a big key and a sword in the very first house he checks, with so many more to follow.
Yeah, pretty nice combo. But yeah, another one of those early, popular early routes that people do is just fake flipping to the hula hand, or fake flipping up to the witch house and then doing a hula hand, just in order to get some of that early money for the bottle vendor or maybe buying bombs. But yeah, it's super nice for them. Since they decide not to do that, the bush crabs are just handing out the rupees.
Yeah, situations like this are one of the main reasons I'm personally, as a player, not a big fan of hula-hanning, because sometimes the rupees are just free. Now, what's a little less free is that big key in the library. Now, here's a huge trap that gets everyone at least once. Don't forget that big key.
Yeah.
It's probably required.
Well, if it is required, then at the very least we're gonna get boots at some point. And Mark having to go 3 times in order to get any bombs from those 50-50 bushes, and after getting them kills a blue guard and gets an 8 bomb drop instead.
So there's a fun little hint that I don't know changes too much, but it's fun. Cold Stare drops the Ganon's Tower small key. GT small keys aren't super important. You usually want to have a couple. And knowing Cold Stare's drop probably doesn't change your decisions too much, but maybe it makes you just a little bit less eager to jump into Ice Palace early.
Well, speaking of early dungeons here, we're finding Thieves Town. We do have access to the big key already, and the sword. Would have to leave the big chest behind, but we do have 7 items we could get to here and finish our first boss already. See if any of them goes for that this early, or maybe they're just avoiding it for a little while, the back part at least, and just see if they can get like something else before going all the way to the back, because that would be a kind of isolated check after that, going back to that big chest.
If the one thing you need is specifically in the cell.
Yeah, I guess in terms of logic, that big key only really opens up the maiden's chest, right? In the back.
Yeah, because you could, if you were a fool, take the small key that you get from the pot to go upstairs and use it to open the big chest door instead. And we have no way to know people won't do that. And that both prevents you from getting the chest upstairs and also prevents you from killing blind. Of course, we can assume people might use the small key correctly, so you also need the small key for the big chest. So all of them are behind that key, logically.
See what SuperNinTaylor goes for here. He is not gonna leave. He's gonna clear up this dungeon. Green mail, 4 hearts, feast on, let's go.
Yeah, I don't... Like, we know logically this probably isn't required, but maybe it is. Because you have a sword... Well, you have really the Thieves Town big key super early, which you might suspect for a reason. You've already cleared out CAC. And I feel like S&T is at a place as a player in terms of his execution. He is not scared at all this blind fight. He has a sword. There's no other thought. He has a sword. Blind is the same as always, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, for all we know, Marcnificent might even head back down there as well after he gets the sword and the big chest, or the big key soon. Ooh, okay, hookshot in Paradox Cave. That's a pretty nice hint. We know where Hookshot Cave is as well. We just need to find the Paradox Cave.
And with the mirror being so free this seed, that means you have 3 opportunities to find Hookshot. Deleting the block is of course not in logic, but I'm not going to let something like logic stop me from picking up a Hookshot.
Yeah, I imagine we're gonna see all types of sequence breaks in this matchup. If your choice is being efficient with your routing and clearing versus following the logic, I think these runners will pick the efficiency every single time.
That is, of course, always a factor you have to consider. Hints are very new to entrants in general, but clearing dungeons you can is a little better than it was in the pre-hints version, just because hints tend to be concentrated in the dungeons. And sometimes it can make a really big difference.
So no gloves, having to clear out the enemies in this kill room in order to progress in the dungeon. Something that kind of helped as well. We saw it a little bit earlier in the upstairs of Feast Town, was that since this being the light world, all those crickets, they behave as mice instead, so only deal quarter heart of damage and one-shotted by this fighter sword.
But yeah, real shout-outs to S&T for remembering he didn't even try to pick up the heavy rock. It's very hard to resist the urge to try to lift that rock without a glove. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
He knew it. He just had the presence of mind not to make the mistake.
Okay, so first boss fight, only 16 minutes in. A little bit faster than you might see boss fights normally in this mode. Every now and then you get those opportunities to just beat out a dungeon really quickly.
Yeah, and we so far haven't seen anything too exciting. Blind's drop will be very interesting. Book is...
The book could prove useful.
Book is fun. Crystal is good. As long as the big chest is empty, nothing else really matters here.
And Mark, checking out some of the rest of these drop downs, finds Ganon and Sanctuary, and finds Kekrik well over here at the Fairy drop down, which is a really nice drop down to find. Get some blue mail, which is nice for safety. It's got Ether, which could come into play later, possibly, but except for that, there wasn't really anything there. Looks like he is gonna go for Houlihan here. Maybe just stocking up on some money for a potential Sora later on, and then just using this opportunity to do it instead of just saving and quitting to Link's house.
I will say, in terms of that early Ether, like, you usually don't think of using medallions other than to open dungeons, but with an early fighter sword as well, that could help out in a couple of tricky late-game dungeon rooms that we might be thrown into.
Yeah, that's fair. We already saw Feast, not Feast on, but Turtle Rock. Just freezing the Pokies. It's definitely one way to do it. I think Ganon's tower already can only get 2 chests though, so we're gonna have to leave and come back later. Meyer as well. So finding quite a lot of dungeons already.
So I saw on the tracker that S&T has the mushroom. I did not see if he turned it in while he was there.
Yeah, I kind of missed that too, actually. I actually missed when he picked up the mushroom too.
Yeah, I didn't mention that because... Oh man, we're the worst. We didn't notice anything about this mushroom other than it's on the tracker.
I mean, it's bound to happen every once in a while, though. And multiple things happening at the same time. This is why we have these amazing trackers keeping us in line, so we don't just forget and miss stuff all the time.
Hey, I'm perfectly capable of forgetting and missing stuff, even with our tracker's help.
So Mark is heading back to Kakariko. He might be going for Feast on here as well now. Looks like it. So they're gonna be in the same position of having the items from Feast on and both leaving the big chest behind.
I guess the thinking you kind of apply here in both these players' positions is I need 2 more items to get Thieves' big chest, both small key and hammer. Is this not going to be my best play before I find both of those? Seems unlikely, and my other realistic plays now are South Shore, orphaning stuff next to the glove rocks. So maybe I should just go in here and it'll help me out.
Yeah, I think that makes sense.
Welcome everyone from Zelda Speedruns 2. I can't say I know what happened in that race, but I'm sure it was a thriller. We're still in the early stages here, and it's still what I would call pretty even. S&T's already cleared out this Thieves Town, but Mark's checked a couple different areas.
Yeah, so it looks like SuperNinTaylor is heading towards South Shore. He has a choice of either after Minimolum here, going all the way over to the Ice Road Cave area, or he could do a fake flipper. He doesn't have the money for Sora yet, but maybe he'll just do like a fake flipper to get Hobo and the island instead. None of which would be in logic yet, though. But he is farming up a little bit of money here from the bush crab, so Sora seems like a potential thing. But
I think a big thought in his position would be to head toward the desert. There's a couple of caves you can check pretty easily going that way. It's not a bad backtrack for this particular rock. And with that early book, you're kind of cashing in on your early Thieves Town play by completing this route here.
yeah, that probably actually makes more sense, and that looks to be what SuperNinTaylor's doing. He just headed over to a Minimolum first in order to get that in this sweep.
Yeah, you'll see runners do that sometimes, because it's funny because you're used to having Mini Moldorm Cave be a huge priority from like open mode. It's one of the most valuable caves. But when you start just looking at the entrances, as soon as you break your preconceptions about which caves matter, you quickly realize that Mini Moldorm's easy to orphan. Because it's often not really on the way to anywhere.
I did see some interesting footwear there on the desert ledge. We don't really know how to get there yet. Entrance for Desert Palace is definitely not the way to get there, at least. But yeah, that's that might lead SuperNinTaylor to try and head back to one of those dungeons that had connectors like Hyrule Castle.
It might, but at the same time, I think you kind of have to have the thought process. It's only 2 caves that could lead up there. One of them I would need the glove to even use the connector. What are really the odds the connector to those boots even exists?
Yeah, for sure. Looks like he is gonna head here, which makes sense now that he knows he doesn't have to steal the key. He can get all these items as well. Having the sword would probably see him go for the Dark Series chest as well, I imagine. Marcnificent left that one behind. He didn't really have any way to guide himself in the dark when he was here last time. But Marcnificent,
Chad, of course,
up
bringing up a good point. They have the mirror. Any connector to Mire also gets them the boots, which actually means there are 5 total caves that would lead them there with their current items.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I do think people somewhat overestimate how often there's a connector to the Mire region. Like, it's not an obscurity, but I think in a majority of seeds, there's not one.
So I know, so Marcnificent was my teammate during the Link to the Past League, and we did a lot of Crossworld entrance practice, and every time we practiced together, we never got sub 2 hours boots. So he's probably gonna be really excited seeing these boots now, except he can't get to them yet. So I know for sure that's gonna be on his mind.
Either that, or he's already accepted that because he saw boots there, that means that he's waiting until he finds his 2-hour mitts and 2.5-hour flute to get boots.
Something like that. So this looks like both our runners are gonna sync up again here. SuperNinTaylor is gonna head for this exit, which leads up to East of Mountain. I don't think we found anything particular of value up here on East of Mountain, except for one of those hookshot connectors. But since we already know where the other one is, not too valuable. Mark, however, is gonna go see this last exit, which will be new information for us. Oh yeah, we have the back of Desert here as well, and SuperNinTaylor is going to steal the key, keeping his options open, and this connector is really good. Leads to Death Mountain, actually top of Death Mountain, which with the mirror gives us the possibility to just check an enormous amount of entrances at this point.
Game. Like, just wow, that's pretty astounding to look at. But yeah, West Death Mountain, incredible for a ton of reasons. Most of them obvious, some of them not. We're going to get a ton of entrances, a ton of items. We'll rescue the old man, get our save warp. And judging by how the players are routing, I'm going to guess we're going to get the checks kind of in reverse order from each other.
Yeah, it looks kind of like that. We get our 5-6 crystals, Swamp and Feast on. So we already have one of the 5-6 crystals. We know where the other one is located, but we're still missing tons of items and, well, just stuff in general to clear that out. Ooh, okay. There's our hammer from the first chest in Agate Tower. That's pretty
I
convenient.
swear, I saw the screen go black the second he got hammer, and I was like, did he just hard reset hammer? I was like, no, of course he didn't. He used the mirror.
Yeah, that would have been unfortunate. Mark is gonna have to be a little bit careful though. Half a heart, but if he can make it to the cave here to the left, he will get hearts to stock up on his health again. So pretty convenient place to get the hammer, because now they're not gonna have to go all the way back to that connector again in order to get over to the top of East F Mountain. With the hammer, they can just walk over there now.
Though it's worth noting that they won't get to check the summit of East Dark Death Mountain with this route. That
Yeah,
could become a little bit of an orphan spot.
Mark is gonna head in here to desert, get the I don't think SuperNinTaylor got this item yet, right?
I'm pretty sure he didn't. The big question is, are we going to see Desert explored as a connector, or are we just going to get the item, read the hint, look at the torch, and use our mirror?
Yeah, that's kind of what I'm wondering too, and it looks like we're going for connectors. We also found the flippers, which is another interesting item. Gets us access to more items and entrances at the moment.
Yeah, we got ourselves the better piece of footwear.
Looks like Mark is gonna actually leave. He was just checking out that hint before leaving. Makes sense. I keep forgetting hints nonstop in this game mode.
Yeah, I don't know about you. What would you rather have? Boots to run fast or flippers that are hard required to do a dungeon? I like the flippers.
Personally, I would probably pick the boots. But I would prefer to have both.
Yeah, I just have that evil urge to always see the boots in some really late game locations, so flippers bring a smile to my footwear face. Also, yeah, Moon Pearl there, well, that tells you a lot about where the lamp isn't, is really what that tells you.
Yeah. Lamp is gonna be somewhere in the Dark World in Hype Cave. that Batman is just holding on to it, probably.
Yeah, I guess really the big question you have to ask yourself with a Moon Pearl from a spot like that is, am I going to just chase forward in the Dark World because Lamp is stupid, or am I going to check more Light World spots? Because it's not like I have a Fire Rod. That Lamp could actually do a lot for you, and it might be problematic to skip it.
Yeah, that's definitely something worthwhile to keep in mind.
I'd also just make the general observation with our early checks. We have not found very many keys at all. So you really have had a fairly barren early game, despite what feels like a good supply of items.
So Mark is going for... Well, he's hesitating a little bit, but he's taking the mill drop here, which gives him 2 checks, or 2 entrances instead of 1. Finds Hype Cave, so good payoff right away, depending on what's in here, I guess. Small Cube with Ganner's Tower. Well, we do have the possibility of sequence breaking quite a bit in there right now, but seeing as they know where the hookshot is, they probably just wait a bit longer until they get that.
It's the Mire region, and you'll also have boots while you're at it. And for 2, those bomb jumps without boots or hook shot to do full left side, they are best categorized as mechanically possible. It's a thing you can do, but it's rough.
Yeah, especially low health. You don't have a lot of room for mistakes at that point. So Mark doing a smart thing here. As he jumped down into East F Mountain, he can take this connector in Hyro Castle in order to get straight back up to Gannis Tower again and just walk over to the Dark Death Mountain, so he doesn't orphan those spells. He will have to orphan Spyro Cave by doing this, but he might be able to do Spyro Cave later as he has a mirror if he just finds the connector to what's it called, the Dark Mimic Cave connector.
Yeah, and likewise, if he finds the floating island, he can also do the same thing. Just drop down floating island, mirror, and check Spiral Cave. So he has 2 different must connects that'll get him there. He could just loop through again as well, but I wouldn't expect that decision.
They find a dark cave, and I wasn't really able to see which one that was. I think it was the Descent cave, possibly. Finding Hera gives us 2 items right away, and also information where a dungeon is, so also get a hint. So overall, pretty good value for the time investment.
Yeah, super early Hera is always annoying because you have to question how many bombs do I want to spend, but Hera, by the time you have a sword, it's just free stuff. And it could have been a free hint, but I guess Mark, he probably just forgot about it.
Yeah, it happens. He looks like he is doing the loop again. He doesn't want to orphan anything at this point here up on Death Mountain.
He might be doing this loop to take Desert as a connector, though.
That's fair. Gives us 2 different connectors. We do have Moon Pearl with Mirror, so if we were to find a connector over to the Dark World, to the mainland, then that would be pretty convenient.
Oh, but yeah, he is checking this last entrance, which is... It's pretty slow for a single entrance to check. It ended up being bad, but it's one of those checks you do
it can
that
take
you
the
know if
connector
it
again.
had value, it could win you the race.
Yeah. He's just going for a 4th time in here. Mark is stuck in the time loop. He's just going to be walking in and out of Hyro Castle for the rest of the race.
So S&T is going to save a little time with that hint, provided we ever locate Eastern Palace, which we probably will.
Oh, I missed the hint, folks. What did it say?
The anti-fairy guarded chest in Eastern Palace contains a red rupee.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty nice, being able to skip that. That's one of the more annoying checks in Eastern. All of the other chests is pretty much just on the way.
But yeah, we see a bit of difference in strategy. S&T went back to the house and is going into Ganon's tower, whereas Mark went for the connectors and has found his way to the Eastern Dark World.
Yeah. So it looks
Personally,
like he's
I would
gonna.
probably make a play closer to Mark's, but it's very easy to imagine either of these plays paying out in a big way.
We'll see how far SuperNinTaylor decides. He might just be doing the Stealthless room, but he could decide to bomb jump even further.
Yeah, the bomb jumps just to get to Stalfos room with nothing but hammer aren't too bad. Going beyond this is when it gets kind of superhuman. And you feel pretty good about the sequence break already, because this sword's just going to save you time continuously for the rest of the seed. And who knows when you'll happen across the Paradox Cave.
Yeah, it looks like he is gonna go full left, which actually makes the Master a little bit annoying, I guess, in one way, because the Armos fight. You prefer rather to have Fighter Sword if you're doing slashes than the Master Sword. But if he can manage to get some health up on the way, he could just go for sword. What's it called? Sword beams instead.
He does have a little bit of help on this because he bought the bomb upgrade from the capacity fairy. I actually wonder if part of his thinking for walking down there and making that purchase was planning to do the sequence break. Because there's just a lot less pressure on this route when you have 15 bombs instead of 10.
Yeah, and he finds a blue boomerang to help him up with the crystal switches here. Very timely placement of that one. And he really performed all of those bomb jumps perfectly. He really didn't miss a single one.
Yeah, and that's part of why it's such a dicey move, is because those 6 bomb jumps he did sequentially, if he missed a single one of them, he would have had to start over. But if you're confident in your execution and you just nail them all first try, this is a pretty potent sequence break.
Marks get a small key to Ice Palace, while SuperNinTaylor gets another boomerang. Also got powder, but I believe Magic Bat is in the pyramid, so we're not going to see that for a while.
I will say the powder immediately simplifies the Armos Knights, because he'll have full health and sword beams for them, so Master Sword went from being a downgrade to an upgrade in quite the hurry.
Yeah, it's a really free fight in that regard. You can just basically stand in the corner and just shoot your fire or sword beams at the Armos.
So, to answer a question from chat, A Link to the Past runs on damage tables, not like damage multipliers. So it's not like the Master Sword is twice as strong as the Fighter Sword. It's just different. And usually it's better.
Oh, and there's our Tempered Sword.
But the devs in their infinite wisdom made it do less damage to the Armos Knights. And that's just what it is. And S&T didn't powder anything, but the Tempered Sword suddenly makes it not that important. Kind of a strange decision, but immediate forgiveness for it, I guess.
Yeah, he still has to be careful though. 1.5 hearts, he can't really afford to take too much damage whatsoever here.
Yeah, I feel like unless he gets overly aggressive, he should be pretty safe. He can afford to take one more hit, and this fight kind of grows exponentially easier. He's already killed the rightmost one, which is the one that was most likely to hit them.
That's a nice hint for Mark. Hera basement only leads to a red rupee. Where he's definitely not going to do this or do that this run.
Yeah, I think a lot of runners just about last location Hera basement all the time anyway. So often that hint's just peace of mind, but no one likes Hera basement. It's probably the least popular check in the mode.
Okay, so one more arm must take care of here. SuperNinTaylor puts himself in a pretty safe spot here, so he just needs to get a couple of slashes in. Should be just fine.
Yeah, this ended up being a little more dramatic than it might have needed to be if he just gotten the powder, but it worked out okay for him. And
yeah,
got
he switched to his bottle, so maybe he thought he had like a red potion or something instead of a green one.
And no, the Armos Knights have exactly the same damage table as they had in vanilla. The original game really wanted you to use the bow, and if you try to use something else, you can kill them, but it's a little slower.
Mark heading up the Sora area, checking the waterfall first. It's a connector. He doesn't really want to check it yet because he doesn't know if he's going to be able to return from it. So he's going to go ahead and check what Sora has in store first. He's going to get a big key and something else. So even if Sora has nothing, probably still good value anyways. And with the flippers, it's a little bit less annoying to get back to that waterfall entrance.
Yeah, S&T kind of has to do a little bit of scrounging now. He hasn't gone through desert, so he doesn't have his flippers, and he also hasn't found a good connector to the Dark World, as in the main body of the Dark World. So this could end up putting him on quite a divergent route, depending on what he runs into.
Mm-hmm. So we found the big key from Meyer. We do know where Meyer is, but we can't enter it yet, and we don't have a fire source, and we don't have the cane, so it's not super useful quite yet, but it's pretty good also being helpful later on. And Marcus actually got skipped that connector for now because he still has his portal to Dark World here, and so he's gonna keep on going in the Dark World for a while.
Yeah, this is pretty sensible. Of course, Mark was probably hoping he would find either a Master Sword or a Cape, because he's probably thinking about that top of Pyramid play. But
Yeah.
just as well, he could hammer down and head to South Dark World, so we'll see where he goes at the fork.
Yeah, I think hammering down makes a little bit more sense. You get more entrances down there than up at the pyramid, and you have a couple of spots that are guaranteed to be items. But at the same time, he could just head up to the pyramid and then go down there.
And it feels like you never get to do it, but it always feels so nice to check the hobo from the Dark World.
Mm-hmm. So looks like SuperNinTaylor has returned up to Death Mountain. He's probably gonna Yeah, he's heading into the desert, so he's gonna find his connector to the Dark World as well. And we might... Oh, we see him actually expending his small key that he stole earlier.
So the big
he might
question
be
is,
doing a
will he
reset
hard
here.
reset when this chest
I
is
would
inevitably
imagine
bad?
so. Cape... Well, we do have Spike Cave up here on Death Mountain. But he's deciding to just do a hard reset. He could have done Spike Cave first as well, and then done a hard reset. But at the same time, he can do Spike Cave. Oh no, he couldn't do Spike Cave now because we don't have a glove. Never mind. And either way, he can do Spike Cave without the cape later on.
Yeah, leaving behind the cape is kind of annoying. Like, it's an item you kind of like having, but at the end of the day, cape isn't required for much, and the main thing it's probably required for is superseded by your tempered sword. If you are willing to reset it all, you got to reset the cape.
Yeah, I think so. Makes sense. So I don't think we've seen any of them saving quit to the old man yet. They both saved him. And he leads to 2 different exits when you saving quit to him.
Yeah, I thought we saw S&T take that, and it was the vanilla laser bridge, which
wasn't
very helpful.
My bad. I must have missed that then.
However, I don't think we've seen the back confirmed, and that could also be very important. I guess I should clarify, for anyone who's not super familiar with Entrance Keysanity, it turns out the mountain cave has a back door, and that can totally be a required move. It is a dark cave, but it's a very, very easy dark cave, so if you know the back door's there, you can pretty well check it. But yeah, as per the race, right now we see S&T is getting on what seems like almost certainly the right track, making his way to Dark World, picking up flippers, while Mark is striking into new ground, which in a way makes Mark ahead in the probable progression of the seed. But the advantage S&T has is he has that tempered sword out of Ganon's tower already, and who knows, it could be a while before Mark picks those swords up.
Yeah, I mean, at this point, I would imagine he won't get that until he gets either the boots or the hook shot. So it all kind of depends on where or how long it takes to find those. Hook shot seems fairly likely we'll find it sooner than later, just because there's 3 different entrances that could take us to it.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, didn't we see the other side of that Fairy Ascension cave already?
Yeah, we did. I think it was at, like, the Dark Flute 5 area, maybe? It was somewhere around Pod area, I think, at least. But we definitely saw it.
Yeah, if it was in Light World, it at least would have been pretty convenient, but there it's pretty worthless. What's a little less worthless is knowing where Ice Palace and your Hera Big Key are. Of course, in Turtle Rock is kind of a big hint, but at least you know something.
Yeah, we could potentially have access to that Hera Key right now. Not in terms of logic, but just in terms of sequence breaking it. But or I guess we did see the other entrance, the laser eye entrance, so it would be in logic. But yeah, that's only 2 chests out of, what, 12?
He just read a potion to the Bombos monolith.
Yep, one of the drawbacks sometimes of having quick swap on. Sometimes you use items that you're not really intending on using.
Very.
So SuperNinTaylor pretty much following in Mark's footsteps as of right now. So he's at this point probably gonna go all the way over to the game as well, and also mirror in order to check the backup race game and all of that fun mirroring stuff that you can do.
So what I'm wondering watching this is, what did we miss? Because this Moon Pearl isn't in logic without the lamp. And I don't... Well, no, we could get over here with sequential connectors, so it could be a mirror thing or something.
Could be. Here we have the Paradox Cave at least. It's gonna pay off pretty nicely.
Oh man, that really is crazy. The thought just occurred to me. That Fairy Ascension Cave that seems so stupid puts South Dark World in logic as a bunny. Could it be that's what the seed wanted?
Yeah, that could totally be it. So SuperNinTaylor is heading into Turtrock in order to maybe get that Harabiki, or at the very least he's going to get 2 chests, so could be something else good in here as well. And see the connectors for... Oh, not yet. Makes sense. Can just take that after doing the race game and the game. Don't think any of our runners actually check woes on race game. So might you see Mark doing it blind here?
I see most players checking race game, but I'm a big believer in just doing it blind. You're gonna come up here anyway to check the entrance. Might as well just wait a minute.
Hey, and there's a big key, but it's not to Hera, it's to Turtle Rock. But yeah, I tend to do it blind as well. And there's the small key for Feast Town. Yikes, that's not what they want to see. So with this this big key for Turtle Rock gives SuperNinTaylor 1 more chest that he can check in here, and later on he can return to that entrance that leads to the big chest as well. So total of 2. And there's our lamp. Okay, that is in the Dark World through a connector. So maybe that other part of Paradox Cave, I would imagine, leads up there.
I would say that's extremely probable. So, and given that you'd be getting the lamp and checking an entrance, after getting the free chest here on Laser Bridge, you definitely want to go and check the last piece of that connector.
Yeah, I think so as well. And there's our big key for Hera on Laser Bridge. So that's another dungeon that we can clear right now. It's a little bit out of the way as of right now for Mark's routing, but it's always nice to have the option open to to clear a dungeon, he knows there's nothing in the basement as well, so he would not have to return to Hera whenever he goes back there.
It's also good to see, even though you can't get back there quickly now, odds are you'll have a glove before you need to kill Trinex, and that will be a very easy laser bridge to return to.
Yeah. Means you won't have to worry too much about the saving up keys for Turtruck as well. Huh, so that led to the top of that spot, but it was in the light world, not in the dark world. Meanwhile, SuperNinTaylor found some really good news here. Oh, okay, I think I see what this is going at. If you went to the top there, that means the hookshot is in logic, right? Which means the swords are in logic, which means that dam is in logic as well. So both the Desert Big Key could lead to something, or we can also go into swap and check the first chest as well. But yeah, those swords kind of paying off already, because Mark has kind of orphaned that spot for the moment. Which is one important entrance and one probably important key as well.
So I don't even know if you feel better or worse when you find the bottom of Spiral Cave. You're like, on one hand, I know Spiral Cave's not an important connector now. On the other hand, that item's going to be even more annoying to check.
Yeah. With the flippers and the hookshot, at least you have. Oh no, yeah, because you would have been in the light roll. Yeah. Yeah, it kind of sucks.
But yeah, my current logic guessing, if I guess we'll call it that, is that there's a pretty good chance that the hook shot leads to a glove and the glove leads to our connector. I guess the other possibility, now here's a fun one that neither runner's checked, I believe, is that just using the Turtle Rock big chest as a connector with the hook shot will lead us up there.
Say again, I didn't really hear. I'm sorry.
So, a possibility that this hook shot could lead us to that lamp would just be if it was the, we found the Turtle Rock big chest very early. With the hook shot, you can use that as a connector to the eye lasers in Logic, and I don't believe we've seen those yet.
I think we did. Actually. Both Mark and SuperNinTaylor found them somewhere here in the Dark World.
Well, in that case, let's stick to Plan A, which is that hook shot probably leads to a glove then.
Yeah. It should lead to something at least. And glove definitely opens up a number of different spots. So this just goes to show how busted it can be sometimes to just blindly follow the logic in this mode.
Yeah, was talking to, I think it was Jake Hoper one day, and he mentioned how funny it would be to sometime just run a seed and carefully follow the logic to be sure to never sequence break and just see how long it would even take.
Mm-hmm. A Violet Pumpkin having a good point. We could have that connector in the Village of Outcast, since that area is in logic as a bunny at this point. So something that could end up being in Mark's favor in a weird sense of way. If he decides to keep skipping GT for a while, he might end up having the big key once he go there, and won't have to leave that big chest behind. Because I believe the only items we found that are like impactful right away was swords, which is definitely helpful, but you could make do without them for quite a while. It looks like Mark is gonna see what's on the pedestal. Since it happens to be in the area. We have some couch cash, so yeah, we're not gonna see him returning to that one. So Mark is heading into Ganis Tornado. He did end up skipping heading down to Village of Outcast for the moment, mostly because he got a little bit stuck in Skullwoods, which tends to happen every now and then. And
yeah, getting that annoying Skullwoods configuration, like, it feels like I'm so unlucky when it happens. It's a 1 out of 3.
Yeah, and we'll see what SuperNinTaylor decides to do. Personally, I would prefer to just head down into the village first, like he's doing now, just in case that happens. That way you get to check all these entrances first. And who knows, you might even have Fire Rod when you go up to Skullwoods at that point. See Mimic Cave, so he's gonna get some kind of payoff right away. Or not. But at least he has that done.
Yeah, after I find enough Tenero packs, I start playing the game of saying every time I find one, we have to be about out of them. I'm always continually, I don't know if the word's impressed or disappointed, is I keep finding them.
So SuperNinTaylor did read a hint that this was a storyteller, decides to go for it, and Red Cane in a connection. That means Super Bunny Cave, if I'm not mistaken. Or no, I guess it could be Spiral Cave as well.
The way that hint is written, I believe that specifically does mean Super Bunny Cave.
Okay.
Which we haven't seen, so that's definitely worth looking for. It'd be especially interesting if Super Bunny Cave was what led to that lamp and everything came together at once.
Yeah. totally possible, and maybe we'll even find it here in the vanilla chess game house. And Spiral Cave. So yes, definitely some decisions to make here.
Well,
Let's check
S&T only has one more entrance in town, so you might as well just check the Hammer House and then try your luck.
Ooh, and this is a pretty nice house to find. We saw Marco for the blue cane as he went into the Armos fight. Managed to get the vast majority of the Armos done with it. A pretty good substitute if you don't have the bow. So we got a flute from Blindside, and we're also starting to get a couple of small keys for Pod. But the flute is going to be nice to have just in terms of movement. You're not as controlled by your save and quit points. You can just flute wherever you want in the light world. Gets it at a pretty good spot as well. You can just mirror here and activate it.
Yeah, and it's especially nice for now, because currently our only way into the Dark World is via a connector on Death Mountain. So this saves us a little bit of a trek every time we have to take that. And once we get a glove, we'll have easier Dark World access, but the flute will then take us to whichever portal we desire.
Okay, so it looks like SuperNinTaylor is going to head up to Skullwoods first and hope that he can get back and then take care of the Spiral Cave. We know it's not going to work out like that, unfortunately for him. So he's going to have to come back to that connector a little bit later on. So Hookshot Cave did not really have anything except for like a bottle. That doesn't put anything new in logic, so maybe the first chest in Swamp has something, or the big chest in Desert.
Yeah, our option pool isn't really deep at this point in terms of what's in logic. Though after a certain point, I know you kind of bookmark it in the back of your head, I'm out of logic, and then make the second decision. I'm not going to worry too much and just press onward.
So I guess we are... No, Mark doesn't have the big key yet, because he didn't have the source when he went to the pyramid. So he's just taking this for the connector to the Dark World right now.
Yeah, from Mark's perspective, probably that Aga Tower entrance is the most appealing thing, which, well, based on what we know, that's actually going to be fairly rewarding.
Yeah. He's probably looking to head towards the village of Outcast after that, so picking that up on the way kind of makes sense. Something that also should be in logic now, actually, is with the hookshot, we could have gotten the Turtle Rock big key in logic, which means the big chest is in logic as well, since that entrance is in the light world.
Wasn't that entrance just at Hyrule Castle Main, too?
It was, yeah. So it's right next to where Mark is. He could actually elect to just mirror once again a little bit further down on the pyramid and check those right away.
Though I observe, according to Mark's tracker, he doesn't have the Turtle Rock Big Key yet, so that's going to be the factor holding him back, I suppose.
Yeah, probably. Because he never really... The only thing he did in Tartar was doing the laser bridge. He is gonna clear a little bit of pod, which I'm not sure if we got any of these pod keys in a logic yet. But Mark says,
but yeah,
"Ooh."
logic or not, you're not going to find a better use for this red potion than checking the bow side of pod.
Yeah, I'm kind of interested why he decided to not do that first. Because he could have done one loop without spending that small key and just see what he gets, and then opening up the middle door if he still is interested in going further. Okay, that's a big key for Ganon's Tower. Okay. Fun.
I mean, kind of the reason I would have done the other side first is because even if you don't want to do anything out of logic, kinda, you could just save your key and leave the middle door locked and check these same 4 chests. But on another topic,
yeah, exactly.
That hint told us that Eastern Palace can be found at Back of Skulls, so yeah, Fire Rod would be pretty cool.
Okay, only 100 rupees in the big chest in Tartar Rock. But quick thinking, or like good thinking at least, from SuperNinTaylor, that he can use this as a connector instead of having to go all the way up to Death Mountain. A big key for Ice Palace, not the most impactful key because you can clear that dungeon without it, but definitely nice to have. So you don't have to orphan another big chest in a dungeon.
Yeah, and Mark hitting his menu, not sure what he wants to have equipped. Settles on the bug net. I'm sure he'll find many meaningful experiences with that net.
Probably. I will say one thing. This would have been a very interesting race to have as a qualifier race for this tournament.
Yeah, like even if you're like, I don't care about logic, their number of remaining plays, logic or not, aren't very large. It's kind of tough to even tell what you can do here. There's a lot of just long walks we're having to do over and over. A lot of this is kind of the opposite of that efficiency you look for, but on another note, it's like the seeds just being kind of rude.
Yeah. Not being given too many great choices, and the more efficient choices they've been given hasn't really paid off far too much yet.
You know, another thing that Hookshot could be telling them to do, that, come to think of it, it's obvious in a way, but so easy to forget. What if there's just a glove in Misery Mire?
Oh, yeah. Dang, I totally forgot about that. Yeah, that seems like the most obvious place for progression at the moment. They even have the big key. They don't have a fire source though, which is kind of gross if Meyer is blocking their first fire swords.
So I feel like we hadn't seen this connector that Mark just took to get to the middle ledge of Turtle Rock. Oh, there's our way to the lamp right there. And I missed which connector S&T was taking to get up there.
That was the same connector, except he didn't go for the bomb jump. He just jumped down instead. But I don't remember where it came from.
So, in other words, Mark might have missed the lamp by missing that connector, possibly forever. It won't be that big of a deal as long as the fire rod is accessible, but it's certainly a factor to keep in mind.
Yeah. Yeah, because he's gonna have the choice here of go back and fall down in Spectacle Rock or fall down in Spiral Cave. And I think we can all get our bets in on Spiral Cave just because it leads him to a item.
And yeah, that lamp is more than just like a logic tool. S&T could just go and kill Landmalus right now thanks to that lamp.
Yeah. He's heading back into a Dark Worlds. We'll see what he decides to go for. Makes Meyer more interesting as well now. So the logic wanted you to go to Dark World as a bunny and then take a connector to a different part of the Dark World as a bunny in order to take that connector in Spectacle Rock, which led you to the lamp, so you could go grab your moon power from saving the old man.
Yeah, you got just a really large runaround that could all be avoided if you were just willing to rescue an old man in the dark.
Yeah, usually my number one tip when people ask me, like, they ask for tricks or tips about Crossworld Keysanity is learn the dark rooms, because it's gonna save you time. Especially in scenes like this.
Yeah, in general, when I'm just telling people what I think is a really important thing to focus on when learning like randomizer tricks or whatever, you want to learn the tricks that let you avoid having items. Those are a lot more important than the tricks that just save time by letting you do a room faster. Because you don't know where those items might be. In dark rooms, you can nearly completely obsolete the lamp. And you'll have seeds where the lamp is really inconvenient.
Okay, so I have to actually go back on that, because one of the other connectors for Spectacle Rock was actually over at the Ice Road Cave area. So they could have gotten the lamp fairly early then. Mark doing a map check only gets to find out one dungeon. He finds out that Eastern is a crystal. This being because we're playing Keysanity right now, which means that you can only see the dungeon prices if you actually found the maps, or if you talked to a couple of NPCs that had the information for the special dungeon prices. So picking up maps is definitely useful, especially if they just happen to be easy to get to. Because you could end up in that mode where you're like, I could be in go mode, but I'm not sure.
And learning
then having
Eastern in
this-
particular as a crystal is actually pretty significant given our set of items. Because we know from a hint that Eastern sits back a skull, so you need Fire Rod. To beat Eastern, you need Bow and Eastern Big. So that just put 3 items we weren't 100% sure were required, all into the required category.
Looked for a moment there that Mark was thinking about doing Lamolos, but quickly realized he doesn't have a fire source yet, so just stayed away from that for a while.
So I feel like S&T is generally more on the path than Mark right now, but a big difference that's worth keeping in mind is Mark does have that Hera big key, and if a glove's an upper Hera, who knows how long until S&T goes back and mirrors in that obscure location.
Yeah,
Looks
that
like
would
we're
be...
actually going to get feedback on that pretty quickly, too, as Mark is making his way to the value of Hera.
Yeah, this could be pretty big. Something else that would be really nice would be like getting the Fire Rod, so he doesn't have to go back for that lamp. Did that hint, by the way, say a mushroom is on the smith?
Yeah, I would like to thank our wonderful trackers for all the help they've done keeping this presented for the viewers, but I don't think S&T has the mushroom. So S&T believes he has the mushroom, but given that the Smiths require mitts and S&T has no gloves at all, it just seems unlikely.
So Mark gets a crystal from clearing Hera, but he didn't really get anything impactful in terms of items or keys. But at the very least, that's a one less crystal dungeon he has to worry about for now.
Yeah, that's nice for Mark in the sense that he has a crystal, he had to do it eventually, but it's also nice for S&T because he's going to be allowed to wait until he finds Glove to get the Hera big key.
Mm-hmm. And S&T now picking up the big key for Meyer. It's gonna feel a little bit sour going into Meyer, if that's something they decide to do, because he knows where the red cane is. It's not in there, but it might very well be required to just go in there and get some terms of items to give them more progression at this point.
Yeah, like, you don't want to do it, but, well,
Ooh, okay.
certainly you're going to check
No.
this out. But
This
once
is
you're
a-
done with this, if this doesn't pay off, it's not that bad to double dip Meyer. Like, you have to do Meyer 2 twice, is about the extent of the
Mhm.
punishment you eat for that.
Yeah, it feels like this should pay off in some sense. We know he's gonna get the boots, which open up 4 new entrances, and then he also has a bunch of entrances he can check here right away. So fairly likely he finds some more items in here. We also have that big key on the library that we saw early on, which is now accessible for SuperNinTaylor. But oh, that's unfortunate that he kind of placed his portal a little bit wrong there. But that's not too bad to get back there. You can use Flute to 8, take the portal, and then take the connector.
There's actually not a long list of big keys that could be. Just looking at both trackers, it has to be Eastern, Swamp, or Skull.
Yeah, Eastern is the only one they have to find out of those, in terms of completing the dungeons at least. So Mark only needs to take that connector within the next 30 minutes and he will actually get sub 2 hours boots.
So yeah, that was a pretty good hint S&T just got. We just checked off that Thieves Town big chest that was probably going to be the last location in the world anyway, but that's just a huge peace of mind.
Ooh, and this is nice. No double dipping Meyer today for S&T at the very least, but for Mark, it will be a double dip.
Yeah, for S&T, the route kind of writes itself from here. You see where this connector spits you out. You don't really expect it to be anywhere good. I'm guessing desert, right? Then you just go to Meyer, get that glove Mark just found that's gonna lead him who knows where, and get rolling with the seed.
Yeah, this definitely pushes Mark away from taking that connector over to the Meyer area. Kind of funny where that connector led S&T just to the light world version of where he entered.
And yeah, I know there's some reactions in chat to finding a glove this late. I'm not going to say it happens all the time in entrance, but it's not that unexpected. When you have connectors that can branch you between the worlds, one of the first items that becomes just way less essential is the glove. Yeah, S&T going for generally faster Meyer routing that starts on the left. There's a lot of different ways to route Meyer, and they're mostly pretty close in time. The most important thing is just hitting this crystal switch as early as your keys will let you, because that's what really opens Meyer.
I think Mark probably just went right first because he doesn't have the fire source, so maybe he was hoping to get the fire rod before heading over to the left side. But that's it, he's leaving, and I would be quite surprised if he doesn't try and check out some of those glove spot locations right now.
Yeah, if these gloves lead to the fire rod, that's going to be a really important thing, because it's not seeming like Mark's really on the path at all to find that lamp. But given where the lamp is, if he can get fire rod, that's marked off his list. If he gets mitts, that'll lead him to Kane, and he won't have to find that connector. But if the glove doesn't offer immediate payoff, that could be some trouble.
Yeah, one of the a little bit interesting things were one of the reasons they didn't check some of those connectors early was just because they had a mirror. They wanted to maximize their trips into the dark world and just knock off for the connectors in case they get locked out and have to start out the entire loop into the dark world again. So they kind of dissuade them from doing some of those checks.
Yeah, and it's one of those things, I would usually call it a good play not to be so eager to, just depth explore every connector you can, because that's a lot of walking that usually doesn't pay off, but for this seed, it's what you had to do. Because it was the last connectors S&T took that really gave him the payoff.
Looks like S&T is going for a hover here. He only has 2 hearts, so he doesn't really have the health to mess this up, which he doesn't, so that's good. He doesn't have to worry about the dark rooms here in Mario, at least, because he has a lamp. And
So
he
I
actually
wonder if
did
he's
pick
going
up
to
a
drink
red
his red
potion,
potion, or if he's going to remember he has powder somewhere down here.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, that hover did save time. It was probably more about showing off than saving time. But hey, if you can do it, do it.
Okay, that glove led to another glove, so Mark might be on his path of finding that cane at the very least, and the boots.
Yeah, that'll get him the cane and the boots, and we know the mitts block Sahas as well, so that's going to be a pretty significant find itself. It's just a question of where's Fire Rod. There's really only a couple places Fire Rod can be that would be really bad for Mark. The main one being Landmo's drop.
Yeah. Well, he got a Bombo, so that kind of opens up entire Ice Palace as well. And he is going to go for this connector, so he's actually going to get the lamp.
This is actually kind of doubly convenient because this is going to leave him close to the village of Outcast, where he can just go and check what items Sahas has.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's definitely getting back on track here pretty quickly, and might in one way have some advantages even from having those mitts.
Yeah, with these mitts, of course, like we've been saying, he's going to get his Samarian boots. The only difference really between his progression and S&T's is going to be that Hera Big Key, and that works in his favor.
Yeah, and we saw that the big key in the library was the one to Skullwoods, so that might not be important whatsoever. I imagine we'll see SuperNinTaylor might just go check that right away, though.
He might want to put it off so he can combo the check with entering Eastern Palace, which I believe he knows is at the back of Skull, and we have one of those annoying Skullwoods layouts that gets you stuck.
Oh yeah, that's fair.
But yeah, I would expect S&T is probably going to push this glove, which the immediate payoff of that is he's going to get his Hera Big Key. And if he takes it to the south, he'll also get his mitts.
Yep. Mark having Bombos entering the Meyer area for the first time, is going to be able to check this entrance right away. Something that SuperNinTaylor did not have the option of doing. Didn't turn out to be anything important whatsoever. So.
Yeah, I felt like we'd seen a Misery Mire leads to a boring house hint, but I've seen a lot of these seeds at this point.
Yeah, you're actually right though. We did see that. Now Mark knows not to go back into Feast Down as well, which he probably wouldn't have done anyways. But it's good to know. Good for just peace of mind.
A major thing that just happened is that S&T did not check the Light World Death Mountain entrance there.
Yeah, that's weird. He checked the Dark World one, which he already knew, but skipped the Light World one, so he might have just been a little bit confused there for a moment, but hopefully he comes back to that one.
I mean, that also might work out to be fine. He has the Turtle Rock big key, he has the big chest entrance. If he just gets small keys, he never needs to find the laser bridge entrance. But it's certainly going to cost time not knowing where the laser bridge is.
We saw Sick Kid being a little bit more sick than normally. He already was laying inside of tomb, so I mean that can't be a good sign, right?
He's just in quarantine. I mean, people of Hyrule gotta stay safe.
Gonna see a catfish check here, which is another item location blocked by the gloves.
Yeah, judging by S&T's routing, I'm guessing he's going to go and pick up those myths, which seem likely to be pretty important.
Yeah. At the very least convenient. So let's see where Mark decides to go. He is going to check that big key right away.
I'm a little confused at where S&T is going.
Well, maybe he is confused too, because he's kind of switching up his mind a little bit here. But it looks like he's going to head to Turtle Rock, and that tells me he's going to head to Lacebridge. And then he's going to be like super sad when he realizes, oh no, he's actually not going to go to Lacebridge, he's just going to Dark World. Or not? I'm not sure. Okay, he's going to Lacebridge.
I kind of get a sense that he knew where he was going about as much as we knew where he was going there.
Yeah, I mean, it happens sometimes. You have like, just keep doing stuff that you know. You do stuff that seems good, and then after a while, you look at your map tracker or your notes or whatever, and you start thinking like, wait, where's my next best play to do? And sometimes it can take a while to figure those out, especially in the heat of the moment when you're doing a race in a high-stake situation.
And yeah, this does commit S&T to needing to find another Turtle Rock small key, but in all likelihood, that's not going to be a very difficult task. Because there's 3 more out there in the world to find, and based on what he's found, he only needs 1 more of them.
Wait, Turtle Rock is the green pendant.
Which might be a way of telling us that he doesn't really need to find another key. It's entirely possible this seed will be completed without a Trinex clear.
Yeah, for sure. Mark is gonna turn in the Smith. Maybe. Did we ever see where the Smith was even? He has picked him up at least. He follows. It's gonna follow Mark pretty much anywhere, with a few exceptions.
Yeah, I mean, the Smith's a hard worker, sitting there working in a hot forge all day. It's nice for him to sometimes be able to get out and see the sights, so good on Mark for helping him out.
Looks like they were even neighbors. Good to use, keep those bonds strong. Gets the mushroom. Did we ever see the potion shop? I'm not convinced we did.
Yeah, there's times when I'm playing that I can't answer that particular question. Potion shop is one of my nemesises, so no way I'm going to be able to answer it here.
Yep. So SuperNinTaylor is going to get his myths here, and Marcnificent is going to go and clear out the rest of Meyer that he wasn't able to do in his first trip here. We'll see where they decide to go after this. For Mark, I would say his best options kind of seems like Ice Palace, but it looks like Ice Palace is marked as a pendant, so he must have had that information somewhere, which could make it less likely he wants to go there. He knows Pedestal is nothing, and he knows that Coaster has a small key to Gannis Tower. He already has enough small keys to clear out Gannis Tower, the rest of it, if he needs to. So he could go into Ice Palace and just check those chests and then skip the boss fight at least.
At this point, though, I almost have to ask, like, what do you do if you don't do Ice Palace? Because I feel like most dungeons, you've either already full cleared, or you have, like, one-ofs. Like, I don't think we've seen the Desert Big Chest yet.
Yeah, I guess they could go clear Lamolas first, but it's a little bit out of the way to get all the way up there just to clear one boss. But it's a crystal, so that's nice. SuperNinTaylor is going to take care of Hera here, and probably Mirror and take care of Lamolas after that. So we're probably going to see that one way or another pretty soon.
But yeah, we have some options. It just feels like overall, though, it's very unlikely to me, based on what we've seen, that Ice Palace does not have at least one required item. And you can skip the boss, so that makes it fairly appealing.
SuperNinTaylor now reading that the mushroom is on the Smith. So he should know that he doesn't have the mushroom now, which he has marked on his own tracker. But yeah, they have two small keys. They have the big key for Ice Palace. They have like everything they would possibly need to clear it out. Seems pretty likely there's something there. Last small key to Gannis Towers in Ice Palace as well, which puts pretty much any chest that they can possibly get to in Gannis Tower in logic as well, which is not many at the moment. The only chest they would be able to get to would be the big chest and the tile room one. They could do a bomb jump in order to get to the compass room, but that would not be in logic because they don't have the fire rod yet.
Of course, Fire Rod's feeling like a pretty likely find there, because if you get that Fire Rod, it puts right side GT, and entering Eastern Palace into Logic at the same time, so it just opens a lot of access.
Yeah, and they just happen to have bombos as well. Every time you get like a late fire rod and you just happen to have bombos, then yeah, Ice Palace is pretty suspect at that point. Mark running a little bit low on health there. The damage boost strat, so just activated the cane for a little while, used to play it a little bit safe. You know, better safe than sorry, and takes care of the big vitreous eyes, no problem whatsoever. So he gets the red mail as well, and another crystal. Both our runners now on 3 crystal each, all of which from the same dungeon. But SuperNinTaylor doing a very nice ice road fight against Lamo as he's about to pick up his 4th big key. Not big key. He got a big key. Okay, that was actually a pendant. So I guess Ice Palace wasn't a pendant then, which makes Ice Palace even more appealing.
Ice Palace can be a pendant because that's just our 3 pendants that we know between both runners, assuming you saw it on a map check. Desert, Ice,
yeah.
Eternal.
Right. There's 3 of those. Never mind. I know how this game works. Okay,
yeah,
so now we know all our crystals then.
I would like to say in general, I'm impressed with Mark for having what I'll call the humility to use that blue cane there. Because a lot of people are like, man, blue cane, it creates lag. I'll lose like 3 seconds if I throw it up. It's like, well, you lose like 3 minutes if you die. Risk reward is don't be too proud to use your blue cane. So, good thing on him. But yeah, we just knocked off Spike Cave, which was kind of another one of our hanging singles. Our option pool is really very shallow at this point, so it'll be interesting to see what decisions our runners make from here.
Yeah, Mark fluted to 4, so I thought that maybe he was going to go for Ice Palace here, but he's going to shake out something else first. I don't remember what was in this entrance. Oh, that was the potion shop, so that was super early.
Well, S&T fluted to 5, checked the cave he'd already cleared out and then left, so I'm going to guess somewhere there's a mismarking for S&T. He might have thought that was Ice Palace.
Yeah, that would be quite unfortunate if they're mismarked a dungeon, because that can cost you a lot of time if you have to start double checking on a lot of entrances.
Yeah, and he just rechecked a fortune teller. This is a little concerning. Do you remember exactly which entrance Ice Palace was in?
Yes, it was in the Vanilla Swamp Palace entrance. So he might be on the right track here, heading into this portal. Okay, he is going south as well. So he should find Ice Palace right here. Okay, never mind. He's gonna go to the tablet. Maybe he checks it on the way back.
Yeah, and Mark has made the play over to Landmo, which he's going to have a roller coaster of emotions when he sees that big key. So
Yeah.
happy and then so sad.
Yeah, well, at least he's not gonna have to abandon any chest in Swamp Palace whenever it's time to do that. Yeah, so this race is really back and forth. It feels like both runners have been like switching position in terms of which one has like an advantage over the other, back and forth just the entire time, and pretty much equal at this time, more or less. But yeah, there's Ice Palace for SuperNinTaylor, so he's gonna get 8 checks in here and a crystal. No, and a pendant.
If he remembers his
He
hint,
yeah.
he's
I'm not
gonna
sure if he
not
read
fight
it.
the boss.
I'm sure that Mark read it, but I'm not sure if SuperNinTaylor read it.
S&T's had pretty good boss execution, so kind of the good news there is that if he doesn't have the hint, his time loss is really minimized. Of course, if he does have the hint, then he should just not even do Ice Palace bomb jump and just route Ice Palace like Cold Stair's not even a destination.
Yeah. The minimum keys you need in order to full clear Ganon's tower, if you use them responsibly, is 2 from outside the dungeon, and that is the exact number that SuperNinTaylor has. So even if he did read a hint, he should know that he doesn't need that small key.
Though Recidador raised a pretty good point in chat that, at least according to our trackers, he has not map checks, so for all he knows, he's getting a crystal here.
Oh yeah, that's a fair point. So yeah, you might be wondering, like, we know all the pendants and crystals at this point, why aren't they marked? They're pretty much marked in the terms of what our runners know. I guess Mark should have full information at this point, since he knows where all the pendants are. But SuperNinTaylor does not know where the last pendant is, or even where 2 of the pendants are, because he never went to Sashalai yet. Nice key dash there in the Ice Palace big spike room.
Yeah, it's actually a really nice thing our trackers do with this. I haven't seen a lot of other Link to the Past rando restreams track which players know about the pendant crystals, just what they are. And it really does explain a lot of the strategy behind why players do what they do.
So Mark is up on Death Mountain again. I'm not sure exactly what his game plan here is. He might be. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what his plan is. Oh, he's gonna do Dark Sewers. I think that maybe he was thinking about doing the vanilla Tart Rock entrance, and then possibly remember that it was quick to do that right before going there, and then just took a backup plan out, checking the Dark Sewers instead.
Yeah, that's pretty logical, because you don't tend to pay a ton of mind to your medallions and entrance, because usually it doesn't matter, but this is a case where it would have cut him off.
So we're not seeing any progression in Ice Palace as of this moment. It's worth mentioning that SuperNinTaylor does not have the big key, So that could turn out to quite a disaster if there's anything important in that big chest.
That's actually really concerning to me because just I'm looking at what we've seen on both sides, and just our total list of places to check is so shallow now that big chest is pretty suspicious.
Mm-hmm. At least the big key also puts Coaster. No, never mind. We know what Coaster has.
Yeah, we got a pod small key, which puts S&T at 3. I think a reasonable hope he could have is that the big chest was just another pod small key, and progression is in the back of pod.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so something was mismarked somewhere because that was not a pendant.
Well then, good news for. Well, I hope. Well, Mark. Okay, then Mark should probably think it's
So yeah, we've made a lot of discoveries about mushrooms and pendants that have been a good reminder that using your own tracker is great and a good way to keep track of what you're doing. But if you mark the wrong things, it could mess you up. And this could really mess Mark up because it's totally believable that he's going to skip Cold Stare.
Yeah, because he has it marked as a pendant on his personal tracker, which is what our trackers went by. But silver lining, maybe he beats Morphila here, and it just turns out to be a pendant.
Yeah. If he gets a pendant here, then he's going to have to think to himself about what it means to have 4 pendants. There's really only one answer to that.
I know what that means. You only need 6 crystals to beat Ganon. That sounds awesome. More 4 pendants, please. Small key from Morphila to Castle Tower and a pendant. Okay, that's actually good news for Mark. He just remarked his Ice Palace to a crystal right away, so he's aware of what's happening.
Honestly, it seems pretty likely that's going to drive Mark to Ice Palace.
Yeah. He can full clear it and it's a crystal. So he should be like beelining there. He's fluting to 4, which is the correct place if he wants to go to Ice Palace. And speaking of our runners mistracking their own stuff, SuperNinTaylor is about to get that mushroom that he marked super early in the game.
Of course, he's already read the hint about where a mushroom is in a location he hadn't checked yet, so he had to already know, just probably didn't feel like going through all the effort of right-clicking.
Yeah. Okay, so they're gonna switch in places here. SuperNinTaylor is gonna grab the pendant from Skullwoods, while Mark is gonna go grab the crystal from Ice Palace. The big difference maker is that Mark is actually gonna get the big chest, and that could actually turn out to be quite important.
I feel like this is kind of a critical moment in the race, because just looking at what both runners have done, I don't have a great grasp of just how much is left. but I do feel like S&T has just done more in general. So most probably, if this big chest is nothing, S&T has a not decisive but decent lead. Whereas if this big chest is critical, that could really put Mark ahead in this race.
Mm-hmm. I believe that big key for Ice Pass was in Palace of Darkness, in one of those chests that it was actually on the Bowlocked side, so the big chest here is not in Logic.
You know, now that you mention it, you're right. So I don't entirely know what the game wants them to do, but I'm pretty sure it's something they haven't done yet.
Yeah, maybe we just have the bow. Maybe it's just been hiding in the first chest of Swamp this entire time. Who knows?
Of course, it could also be the second chest of Castle Tower. That's seeming pretty believable at this point.
Yep. Yeah, we pretty much only have a lot of bad options at the moment, and you're just gonna have to choose which bad option do you pick first, and keep doing that until you only have one bad option left, and that's probably gonna be a progression. Kind of what it feels like it turns out most of the times.
Yeah, the Fire Rod would block that second chest in Castle Tower. Unless we can get the other key. But that wouldn't be the answer of the specific place it wants us to go next.
Yeah, we said early on in this race that these runners are not going to care too much about sequence breaking and in terms of the logic, and that has certainly been true. Done most of the sequence break we can think about at this point.
Yeah, the story of this seed has really been just sequence break a bunch, get some value, then near last location, the next thing you really need. Just kind of do that over and over. This has been a nasty one. Yeah, we're at 206, and I don't feel we're super close to go mode yet. We still need the bow, the fire rod, the eastern big, the pod big. Well, I guess that's all we need, but those are 4 pretty big items.
Yeah, and a lot of those items can hide in some pretty gross spots as well.
Yeah,
I'm not a little bit.
Well, we also need to find Swamp, which is...
We did find Swamp. Which is actually something I'm a little bit surprised none of them has checked the first chest, because they've been passing by it quite often. It's the Fortune Teller, right north of Kakariko is Swamp Palace.
Okay, I'm actually kind of dumbfounded no one's checked that yet. That seems... easy?
Yeah, but they might have just forgotten. Most of the times they passed by it, they've been in Dark World, but they had the mirror this entire time. So I'm not sure if SuperNinTaylor didn't have a potion with him, or I think he has a potion, but it looked like he's skipped doing that. Oh, and that's not good for SuperNinTaylor. Big
that
pod.
Could really be GG.
Yeah, big keeper pod in that spot. That's gross.
What makes that really bad is that, like, that's not the next progression. That could easily be a last location go mode item that blocks 2 checks. Because, yeah, based on what we know, that doesn't really solve our dilemma, but that is 100% required to beat this seed.
Really nice boss fight there from Mark, doing some poke, stress, and spins to just keep Coaster in the corner. So we'll see if Mark decides to head over to Pod as well. Not quite yet. He's gonna check out that second chest in Ag Tower first. We know Lumberjack is nothing they have to worry about. So once he gets this second chest, that's it. He doesn't have to come back to Ag Tower ever again. Well, not today at least.
So yeah, that first chest of Swamp Palace that has kind of been kicking around on our list for a while. It's not that easy to think of a different play that could be better.
Yeah, especially in terms of time investment. Like, it's really fast to get it. Just like even double dipping Swamp overall in entrance is usually a bit more kind than in a normal mode, because you don't have to do that mirror transition and drain the swamp every time and then mirror transition again. It's just like go in and then go up.
And there goes another one of our big hanging spots. First chest in Turtle Rock is dead.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the trolley world where Swamp Small is vanilla?
Oh, I can imagine quite a lot. And that would be quite hilarious. But it looks like Mark is heading back to Ganon's tower. He's going to check the tower room to begin with. We'll see if he decides to do the bomb jump over to the compass room. And I imagine since he went over here, he's probably, at this point, he's out of so many locations, so he's probably going to check the big chest as well, I would imagine.
I think we can all agree the funniest item to find here would be Quake.
Take you up to Turtle Rock. Oh, it's the bow.
And thus, they went straight upstairs until they didn't.
Yeah. I think Mark is heading straight upstairs to Pod instead. See, he has 3 keys. He already wasted one on opening the middle door at the beginning, so he will have 2 keys that he can actually use. That's enough to give him access to the back parts of Pod and get a large majority of the items, and also have 1 key left to actually go to the boss.
I would like to point out the wonderful little combination that Ice Palace Big Key was bow locked in Pod, and Pod Big Key was an Ice Big Chest.
Some lovely placements in the scene. So
But yeah,
the
this play is
climb,
actually really logical from Mark, because we know back of Pod is bad. We don't know what's in the big chest, but he doesn't know that, and he knows it's a crystal, and GT is in the easiest place in the world to return to.
yeah, for sure. Doing stuff that you know that you're gonna have to do makes a lot of sense. The only problem here is he cannot full clear it, but at least he can get a fair amount of the checks out of the way, since he can have access to the back. But climbing Ganon's Tower, I would not be surprised at all if that's required at this point. We have access to every single Ganon's Tower small key, and we get 5 items from climbing Ganon's Tower. And we don't have a lot of other good options open. So that might be something that Mark will have to return to after clearing out Pod here, or what he can clear out at the very least.
Of course, his thinking might almost be pushed to go here from not having Pod keys as much as having them, because the 2 chests he's going to have to skip are both logically behind all 6 keys. And you have to ask, what are the odds I can even get those keys without the other things I need for Go mode anyway?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, between the bow and the Pod big key, I think it's fairly safe to say Mark has a pretty powerful advantage in this race.
Yeah.
It's going to take something unexpected to disrupt the order to change how things are progressing.
Yeah, I think that would be quite fair. Picks up a shovel from Helmasaur, but more importantly, picks up his 5th crystal, and is at this point only 2 keys away and a fire rod from being able to get the last 2.
And yeah, we know we're not going to see too much exciting in the back, unless that big chest is really spicy. Which would be really sad for S&T.
Yeah. Oh no, did he not get the hint about Hair Baseman?
Well, he does only have 827 rupees, so maybe it'll help him out.
Yeah, maybe he's like it's starting to get a little bit late. Maybe he's like super excited about getting some coffee, but he's not even taking the coffee break. Well, he's just taking a shorter one.
Mark doing a hammer jump that reminds me a lot of my own hammer jumps.
Yeah,
Never
that's
find
what
that
mine
pixel.
looks like. It doesn't really matter how many times you have to pause buffer. It's still gonna be faster than finding another small key.
Yeah, what makes that really tough is if you miss your initial lineup, then it's just a really awkward wiggle up and down in order to get right where you need to be.
Mm-hmm. You want to try and like get diagonal movements, so you have an easier time getting 1 pixel movements. Or you can use like sword slashes in order to try and get those more precise 1-pixel movements.
And yeah, Haiku type, I'm almost entirely certain that is in fact normal menu speed as expected.
That looks to be it. He is not checking the big chest. Why are you not checking the big chest, Mark?
That's...
He knows he has the big key. He just beat the boss.
Like, I've
Oh boy.
never seen an
Maybe.
error quite like that.
It's usually the other way around. Oh my god, he's leaving it. This could be what SuperNinTaylor needs to get back in this race.
Like, I'll repeat what I said before, which is it's probably nothing because of small keys. Like, I expect that there's pod small keys in both Eastern and Swamp. If it's the Eastern big key in that chest, then Mark just made a critical error.
Yeah, for sure. He's gonna go check out this trouble spot at least, which is a small key to Desert Palace. We know that's only gonna lead to the Cape. Did we ever see the other side of Spike and not Spike Cave? What's it called? Bumper Cave. I know we saw one entrance, the one you can hookshot through, but I'm not sure if we saw the other one.
I don't remember if we saw that specific connector, but based on the items we have, I don't think it really matters.
I guess there's might not be any important connectors left to find at this point. So this is very good news for SuperNinTaylor. He is back in Ice Palace, probably because I don't think he might have a lot of things left to do. The only thing he has left to do except for this is like going back to GT.
Yeah, like,
which he will have
hand,
to do
it's
as
a
well.
pretty big mistake to commit to such a large play like this before just going up GT. Or going to GT Tile Room, which is really accessible. But based on what we know, this is going to save S&T's bacon.
Yeah, this is really important. No, Mark, you all, I know you checked this in. I can't blame them though. The number of times I confused myself with like, did I actually read a hint about this or not? It's often, so I can't say I would not have done this.
Yeah, I usually write down hints of relevance because I know these seeds are long and it's really easy to forget stuff like that.
Yeah, and at this point, like, we gotta have to assume that both runners just completely forgot that they have access to the first chest in Swamp. Because, like, they're doing so many checks that are, like, time-consuming and out of the way. So that must have just, like, slipped their mind that they can get that first chest.
And S&T, I would speculate, has probably forgotten about GT Tile Room. Kind of the good news for him is that I don't think he's going to be allowed to continue forgetting that for much longer.
Yeah. He might be going back for like the big chest in a bit, and hopefully that will at least remind him that Tile Room is also a thing. He's gonna backtrack here in order to get the first chest in Tetrock. I don't remember where the the main entrance was, and if SuperNinTaylor saw it, I guess he don't remember it as well. But he's only gonna get 10 arrows from this, so it's not really gonna be very impactful. We'll see where Mark decides to head from here.
I would suspect a lot of what we see our runners doing that seem kind of like misplays at this point. I mean, this seed has been grueling. It's 224, and you don't feel like you're close to done. There's definitely a lot of fatigue that sets in.
Yeah, and they must be feeling pretty stressed at this point too, because as you mentioned, there definitely been missteps or misplays from both runners at this point. And every time you do one of those, like, it just raises the stakes and raises the stress level so much more, because you're thinking, oh, okay, this is time I'm losing, but my opponent is not going to lose this because they're not going to do the same mistakes. At least I think so. Every time I run, I'm like, my opponents will not do any mistakes whatsoever.
It's kind of the different mentality as you run a lot more tournament races. One of the little things you get used to. Because like when you're in the big group races, it's almost always true that whoever won the race probably didn't really make any major mistakes and maybe even got lucky. But in a one-on-one, it's actually pretty believable that one other guy made the same mistake you did.
Yeah. SuperNinTaylor is backing Gannis Tower, heading to the tile room first. And if he is climbing Gannis Tower after this, then good on him, because that's probably, I would say, or the most likely place progression would be at this point. We did see SuperNinTaylor bomb jump the left side earlier, so he might decide to bomb jump the right side here as well. And Mark is heading back into Gannis Tower as well. He's gonna get a reunion in here. He's heading straight up right away. No shaking the big chest here, dude. We don't need that. Maybe. We'll see. But we have 5 items by climbing. We have 1 by going to the big chest. So he's gonna play dolls here.
I really would not be surprised to see S&T just follow him right up the tower with the bow, because he could go back to pod, but it's only 2 items to him, and he knows they're behind keys he doesn't have. So
yeah, he actually
climbing would have made a lot of sense, but he didn't.
I think he changed his mind here, because he doesn't have any more small keys to pod at this moment. He will have to find 1 more in order to get to the boss, and he did the potion glitch, so pod, there's really nothing he can do there right now.
So we're gonna have to keep wondering what's in the pod big chest. We can't imagine a world where S&T goes back there, realizes he doesn't have a key, gets only 1 check, and then it's important.
Yeah, this race is stressful, dude. Must be even more stressful for the runners. I know S&T he sees himself as a little bit of an unlucky runner in terms of routing. He in terms of he always ends up last locationing stuff. I don't think this seed is helping in terms of that, because both our runners are really like almost last location multiple things at this point, more or less.
I mean, certainly finding that pod big key probably didn't make him feel too lucky about his sequencing.
So Mark is through the gauntlet and through Lamos 2. SuperNinTaylor is about to head into Lamos 2. If you just joined this channel and you're thinking, oh, this race is almost over and Mark has to lead, that's not quite true, because this is not the end. We still need a couple of crystals, in order for us to clear this out. And beating Aga 2 is not necessarily even required in this game mode. Only if there's items locked by it do you have to beat Aga 2, which it seems fairly likely it could be in the scene. So this is what the runners are gonna go for.
I mean, this is kind of one of those cases. You see this a lot too, where upper GT is 4 direct checks and a drop for 1 more item, and probably the one that's specifically behind Aga 2 isn't the one, but you're not going to climb here and then just gamble that, because coming back is beyond horrible.
Yeah, for sure. And they got actually, it's a magic bat behind the Aga 2. They got a small key from Dark Path. That's good for both our runners, really, because that might lead Mark back and somehow he remembers he forgot to check the big chest. But even more importantly, maybe for SuperNinTaylor, because he's gonna need 1 more small key. I missed what was in that chest. Have to wait for 2 seconds. But they got the powders super early, and Magic Bat is in the pyramid.
There's kind of a long-running community meme that the Ice Rod is early, therefore Turtle Rock's a pendant. I think the powder's early, therefore the bat's behind one of the Oghanims.
Yeah, I actually had one of those yesterday. And there's another meme no one likes that just happened here as well. We got a required big key.
So yeah, the Fire Rod's go mode, or no, Fire Rod and Swamp small. Seems real likely one of those is behind the other.
Yeah, I get down, and time to see what we get from it. It was a pretty clean fight from Martin on the Aga. SuperNinTaylor starts with a double. Looks like it should get at least a double here as well. More importantly, what does this bat hold for us? This is nothing. Then I'm gonna be so excited about Swamp.
Yeah, the thing about Pod Big Chest is it was a mistake for Mark not to check it. Oh, there's Fire Rod, by the way.
Fire Rod, okay. So he's gonna beeline for Eastern, just as SuperNinTaylor is gonna do. SuperNinTaylor might actually just mirror here and take care of Pod first, would make sense. But Mark is gonna head to Eastern, and yeah, he's only a small key from go mode, and as long as that is not in the big chest or pod, he's in a pretty good position here.
So a crazy thing is, if Swamp's small key is vanilla, putting it off this long could be advantageous, because there's surely nothing in Swamp.
Yeah, they might be able to, well, one way or another, they will be able to go mode Swamp. Wow, that's unfortunate. Mark just picking a random drop because he wants to get to the what's normally the front of Skullwoods. Picks the only drop that does not lead to that entrance, so it's gonna have to pick another one.
Yeah, I feel like he's been back here before, so we should have known, but we're at 232, not in go mode. It's easy to make those sort of mistakes.
And he's skipping the big chest too, which cannot recommend you doing. Actually, none of our runners has checked that big chest yet. We got the big key quite a bit ago. It was from the library. Maybe he goes back and doesn't do that after Easter?
Yeah, one of our trackers is agreeing with me. S&T went back for that at some
did
point.
he? Okay, my mistake. See, our runners get confused a little bit from time to time, but that's cool. We can get confused as well, especially me. Yeah, so we have two seemingly big chests skipped by Mark so far.
I mean, Link's arms are tired. The lids on those big chests are heavy. I understand.
Makes sense.
But yeah, I don't know. I think only one of our runners found the hint that the vanilla big key chest in Eastern is bad. I don't remember which one it was.
I'm pretty sure it was SuperNinTaylor. Ooh, there's silvers, so none of our runners are gonna have to do silverless, most likely. And Mark, being only one item from Go mode, he's just skipping hints at this point, saying, I'm on a pretty linear path at this point. Not necessarily, because there's still a few out-of-the-way locations, but he's just betting on that hint not being too helpful at this point. Which most of the times it's probably not going to be at this point.
Yeah, there's unless it's specifically a hint for Swamp Small Key, it really has nothing it can tell you that you would care about, and the odds are just very, very low.
So yeah, SuperNinTaylor did check that. He did get the hint about that, but then again, our runners got hints about Hera Basement as well, and they did end up checking it, so he might actually end up checking it after all. Anyways. Yeah, no one has checked GT Big Chest yet, and I don't believe we got any hints about it, so that's totally in place still. We had progression in Tyler, in GT, we had it in Moldorm chest. Might as well be one in the big chest as well at this point.
I still think totally vanilla Swamp Small Key would be really the most appropriate possible outcome.
Yeah, something else we can write off at this point would be the pyramid entrance, like the big bomb. Since the last 5-6 crystals is the entrance or the dungeon that we need an item for right now. Yeah, it was not. Eastern was not the answer, so I can only think of Swamp and GT Big Chest being the logical, accessible spots right now. Or I guess we could do some stuff in Touch Rock as well, now that we have the Fire Rock.
Yeah, chat's pointed out the 4 chests on the right side GT, which is kind of the obvious value play. If you go to GT,
yeah, right.
You can do 5 total checks in kind of one route.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's... Yeah, that totally slipped my mind.
So another option we're about to see is killing Trinex, which is also the green pendant.
Yeah, it also spits you out at the front of Touch Rock, so you can just check those two fire rod lock chest.
Now, I don't think that S&T actually has enough small keys to kill Trinex, so this would be really bad for S&T if this were the answer.
So nice one cycle on the first phase, and second phase is pretty straight up, especially when you have Tempered Sword. Gets a piece of heart in the green pendant. Yes, all the pendants now. We know pedestal is nothing. The green pendant could still be something. And we're about to see those two front locations coming up as well.
Yeah, this is a fairly big moment, because if these are the answer, obviously Mark has a pretty big edge. But given that S&T is not going to be in a hurry to go back to Turtle Rock without those keys, if he just goes straight to GT and that's the answer, that just flipped this race.
Yeah, this race has definitely just been bouncing back and forwards, and doesn't seem to be stopping quite yet. There's a small key. Oh, it's the swamp. Okay, that's a major breaking point for Mark. He is not only have an advantage at this point, he has a pretty definitive lead. I was gonna say, but it looks like SuperNinTaylor is making the same play and it's gonna get the swamp small key just slightly after Mark, so they're gonna be super close to each other after all.
Now, I'd like to just make a general observation. Throughout this race, I feel like Mark's routing has been mostly better, other than his hatred of big chest. Whereas S&T's been executing just a little bit faster. Given the gap, this could be like a very close finish.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know both of them are pretty familiar with the one-on-one strat on Ganon with Tempered Sword. We'll see what their strats on Argus ends up being. I know Mark goes for the one cycle sometimes, but not always. And SuperNinTaylor, I'm not comfortable enough to say how often he goes for the one cycle.
So I guess we can also ask, what do we hope was in that first chest in Swamp? The gold sword or half magic?
Well, maybe we'll find out. No, we're not gonna check it. Marcus, not interested in checking any big chests at all.
S&T did check the first chest in Swamp Palace for 50 rupees, but
yeah, maybe.
I really don't know why. There's not much S&T can find that would help. Gold sword or half magic would make you feel better, but wouldn't really do anything.
Yeah, they wouldn't speed up anything really at this point, except the gold sword would make the Argus fight a lot more comfortable. So where was Ganon again? Sanctuary, I think. So Mark is not getting the one cycle. And accidentally menus or does a map check as well. These are stuff that he's not allowed to do right now if he wants to keep this lead. He has to take advantage of that and just go, because SuperNinTaylor is right on his heels. But that's the last crystal pickup for Marcnificent. He's going to head straight to Ganon, and SuperNinTaylor is about to get to Argus as well, so he's not going to be too far behind.
I do think Mark has enough of a lead that he can afford to drop a cycle on Ganon and still be ahead. So that is an important factor.
Pretty convenient place to have your last dungeon, seeing as you may need to do a few screen transitions in order to get Ganon. Yeah, and SuperNinTaylor did not get the one cycle as well.
I feel like his Argus was still a little faster, but at this point, it's just not faster enough to catch the lead. It's going to be a close finish, but Mark would have to make some significant errors to lose it from here.
Yeah, he's taking some damage so far, but he is in red mail, so he's pretty much allowed to take some damage without worrying too much. And the parts of taking damage, the highest risk for that is kind of over at this point. You more have to worry about not falling at this point. As long as he doesn't do that, he should pretty much have this race.
I always figure getting hit by Ganon's in the plan, so I don't have to deal with sword beams.
Ooh, okay, that was a little bit scary. But sets up for a nice potential triple here. Gets a double at the very least. Needs one more, and that's it. He just needs to cross the finish line, and he should have this.
Yeah, S&T so far having a cleaner Ganon fight, but it just wasn't quite enough to close that gap. Mark will win our race with an official SRL time of 2:45.43, and congratulations to Mark.
Yeah, GG's. And we'll have him join us in the call for an interview in just a moment. We'll see if SuperNinTaylor wants to do the same. Just kill Ganon now. This turned out to be quite a really close race at the end. So we're joined by Marcnificent. GG's, dude. If you're talking right now, we cannot hear you.
Oh, can you hear me now?
Yes, now we can.
Alright, GG. I'm actually surprised it was so close.
Yeah, it like you two just bounced back and forward in terms of who was like in the lead or had the advantage until the very end. You ended up getting this swamp small key just like maybe a minute apart.
Wow. Yeah, I did not feel that I was in the lead at any point in this race, and it just, I mean, judging by the time, it really didn't seem like I had a lead anyway. So it's just, I didn't. Yeah, I'm just glad it's over. So, really.
First question I have to ask you: are you aware that you skipped the big chest in Palace of Darkness?
Yes, I did. I realized when I was in Eastern Palace that I had totally just did not get it, and I went to get the other chest after failing that bomb jump. It was horrid, actually. But yeah, I skipped it, but I was thinking I had two other keys, small keys. If I didn't get the swamp small key, then I would just go back there and collect the 3 chests that I had left in there, because I had gotten 2 more keys, and Ganon's Tower somewhere else. So I figured that was like my next play, and I also skipped the big chest in Skull Woods and as well. I think I passed by it more than a couple times as well. So yeah, those are things that were on my mind for a while. At the end there, I was like, okay, the 2 chests in Turtle Rock, then Sahasrara, then Pod, then Skull Woods, I think, and then Ganon's Tower, big chest. But I think there was a hint for that. And I also think I got a hint for Tower of Hera. I totally forgot, and I totally collected that chest for the Red Rupee anyway, so...
Yeah, SuperNinTaylor ended up doing the same thing, actually. I think at least he got the hint, too.
Yeah, I got it, and...
You both had, like, good stuff that you did, and you both had, like, some missteps. But in a seed like this, like, especially how the seed turned out, it's definitely easy to just have some mishaps every now and then.
Yeah, it definitely. I think there was a lot of connectors that I couldn't check early on, and then I didn't want to go through with them knowing that I had Dark World access at a really like trolly location like Pod, so I didn't want to go through with them just yet. So that's kind of how I felt early on, and then I was like, all right, at some point I'm gonna have to go through all this again and check those connectors. But those late gloves, though, I think that really trolled us, and then the gloves locked behind the gloves was also very trolly. So that felt felt pretty bad.
We're also joined by SuperNinTaylor. GG's to you as well.
Hello, thank you. I'm glad it was a pretty close finish.
Yeah, GG.
Yeah, that was a whirlwind to watch, and there were a lot of significant moments where there were significant lead changes.
It was a whirlwind to play too. Half the race, I was like, "What am I doing right now? I have no idea what I'm doing. Let's just go this way."
So the overall tenor of the race, I would say, was let's sequence break a ton of stuff, not get anything from that stuff, and then last location, the next thing we need. You both kind of just did that a lot.
Yeah, I tend to do that a lot. It's slightly unfortunate.
Yeah, I feel like I get that unlucky as well. It just never pays off for me.
But yeah, I'd say like the first really critical thing was kind of in the mid game. S&T was a lot more thorough with checking his connectors, which got him to that lamp earlier, and also found if he found his way to the Mire region to get the boots and the cane first. And that felt like a pretty good lead, but while he was doing that, you, Mark, were finding your gloves and mitts. So that was kind of an interesting difference that persisted for a while.
Oh, wow. So like the mitts, because the mitts led me to my boots. I didn't follow through with the what was it, the waterfall ferry connector to the Mire area. I'd seen it and I was like, oh, wow, this had been open for a while. So I was thinking that he had probably got the boots way earlier than I did. So I didn't feel good about that.
Yeah. Well, I knew the boots were there, so I kept on checking connectors. I was like, I need those boots.
Yeah,
that connector?
Same with me, but I was actually afraid when I had gotten Dark World access via Pod or Desert or the Pod entrance. I didn't want to check the connectors on the way. I was afraid that I was going to get locked out and I'd have to come all the way back around. And so that's what I decided to check through. And then the last connector that I had was the one at the archery game. So I followed through with that. That was Paradox Cave, actually. So
yeah, I was pretty hesitant with connectors too. I was like, okay, I got like 3 here. Let's take a gamble. Then each one I take it'd be one that locks me out. And the last one I checked would have been one that wouldn't have locked me out. I kept on losing the connector gambles.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'd say the second time this race really turned, and this was really tragic to watch how it kind of played out for you, S&T, was you did Ice Palace first and didn't have the big key.
Right,
and we really expected Ice was going to have value because it was most of what the two of you hadn't checked at the time you went in. But then when the only chest in Ice that mattered at all was the big chest with the Pod Big Key. I mean, there was a Pod Small that's nice, I guess, but that was pretty rough.
Yeah, that's too bad. But I mean, that's rando for you, I guess.
Yeah, I actually thought I misread my map. I thought Ice Palace was a green pendant, so that's why I left it for last. Or
Yeah, we noticed as soon as you got that pendant from Skullwoods.
I was
Yeah, I was
really
like-
worried. I was scared something was going to be on Trinex. I was worried about using that last key, but I completely forgot to mark the upper Turtle Rock area. I had no idea where it was, so I was like, I'm just going to waste my key here and gamble because I didn't mark where that Turtle Rock entrance is. But I'm glad it didn't come back to bite me.
Yeah, that's part of what kind of closened it up a little at the end, because your double dip of Ice Palace put you back a bit, but then Mark killed Trinex as his method to go to the front of Turtle Rock, whereas you went directly, and that really cut the difference about in half.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Yeah, I figured I would, green pendant, the front of Turtle Rock, then Saha. That was like that was the plan, really.
Yeah, I was actually pretty surprised, S&T, that you did go for the front of Turtle Rock. I was thinking you were going to beeline right side GT for the 4 items, and
Honestly, I have never practiced the bomb jump on right side. I have no idea how to do it. I didn't have
I mean
fire
at the
rod
end
yet.
when you had Fire Rod.
Oh, right. Yeah, actually, I didn't even think about that, honestly. Until you mentioned it. So I'm glad it wasn't there then. Yeah, I was going through my options. I was like, what's left? And I was like, oh, I guess Turtle Rock has 2 items, so I beelined it there. I was probably going to go back to GT for the big chest after that I for some reason forgot about the right side. I'm sure once I got in there, I probably would have thought about it.
But yeah, GT in general really eluded both of you for a long time. US&T in particular, you'd done almost everything in the world before getting that bow, and that was pretty harsh on you. The only thing neither of you did, and I have to ask if either of you considered doing this at any time, the first chest in Swamp Palace was available for almost the entire seed. Did either of you ever think of checking it?
When I was starting to run out of locations, I think that was going to be my next stop right after, what was it, Tile Room?
Mm-hmm.
Because I can't think of what else I had left after that. That was almost very last location, that Tile Room for me. So.
Yeah, I think for you, S&T, the Swamp first chest was literally last location if Tile Room wasn't progression.
Yeah, that was too bad. I meant to check that earlier and I forgot.
Mm-hmm. I actually didn't think about that at all. I actually need to keep that in mind for next time, that chest is open after you drain the dam, drain the swamp, and have the flippers. So
I also forgot to mark Swamp Palace as well, so that's why you saw me for a while there going in random entrances. Those are ones that I didn't mark off at all, but I knew I'd been in. So I was looking for Swamp Palace. So I ended up I ended up just loading my VOD and leaving it in the corner while I was playing. Eventually I found it. I knew it was somewhere near the beginning. Then I found where it was, so I turned my VOD off.
Yeah, that's a pretty neat trick. Yeah, we were kind of thinking, because that was right before you decided to go into Ice Palace. So we were kind of thinking that maybe it was Ice Palace you forgot to mark and was looking for.
No, I was looking for Swamp. Actually, I wasn't considering the small key at the time anyway, so... It wasn't until after I was in the middle of Ice Palace that I was looking at my tracker. I was like, wait, I don't have the small key anyway, so I can't do anything or do much in Swamp Palace. But yeah, that's what I was looking for. I was intending on full clearing it without really considering the small key at the time. So I would have got jebaited if I found it earlier.
But yeah, that was quite a show, quite a lovely, inconvenient, long walks through the same long paths over and over to last location progression seed. We always like to see, right?
Oh yeah. I guess it was pretty exciting for the viewers that the pyramid, the top hole, Ganon hole, was just one little item, and of course it was required, so I'm sure they loved that.
Yeah, it was a very entertaining race overall, I would say. Especially how it just swung back and forward.
Yeah, I'll have to check out the VOD.
Yeah, same here. I just want to see where everything kind of changed. For me, I felt behind really, so yeah, I just want to see where that happened.
Yeah, I know my brain turned off a few times this race, but that happens to me a lot in entrance rando. I'm still somewhat new to it, but I feel like I've been catching on fairly quick.
Yeah, same.
I'm just gonna have to go on a winning spree and work my way back up from the loser bracket. Wonder where that puts me, actually. I didn't really look at who I'd be facing if I lost today. I'll check that out later, though.
I think it's good for everyone, including the viewers, to recap the results of this match and what it means. As the winner, Marcnificent will be playing the winner of Haiku Type F. Coughlin, who I believe have already scheduled for Thursday, so that'll be a short turnaround to know that. And let's see where 19 is. So, where are you, S&T?
I think I was ranked 25. I don't know if that helps find it. I was near the top of the bracket somewhere, closer to the top.
Oh, you are going to be playing Death King II. That has already been decided.
Okay, cool. Alright, well, I'll look forward to my next race then.
But yeah, congrats to both you for surviving this slog of a seed, and GG.
Yep, thanks.
Yeah, GG. Thank you guys for commentating and sticking with us as we were both frustrated, as you can imagine.
Yeah, I honestly thought, like, the last half of the race, I thought I was in big trouble because I couldn't find anything. But then once I did that GT climb and got the fire rod off Magic Bat, I was like, maybe I'm still in this. Like, maybe you already did it, I wasn't sure, but it just seemed like such a ridiculous location that I was like, you know, maybe. Maybe I'm not out yet.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I'll make sure to, right when I hop off here, I'm probably going to start watching the VOD.
For sure, same
Sounds
here.
like a good one for sure.
Definitely,
All
man.
right, I'm gonna head out now. So yeah, like Mark said, thanks for commentating.
GG's, dude.
Yeah, peace.
Yeah, and I believe this was the last race for tonight.
Yeah, I guess this is where I pop on and start telling you about all the crazy shenanigans we've got lined up for tomorrow, because yeah, there's just a few more races scheduled for tomorrow. Let's see, how many are there? I want to say 7. Let me double check. Yeah, we got 7 more matches in this tournament scheduled tomorrow. What's being aired where has yet to be determined because, goodness gracious, there's a lot of races. But, looks like we will be having Lin versus Haunted Quest here on ZSR at 2 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UTC, and around then, all the rest of it ought to be sorted out and figured out who's doing what. We've also, on either, most likely somewhere here on the ZSR family of channels, we will also be seeing Gus versus 1UP40, Freddy versus Kieran. If I mispronounce these names, you guys are obviously allowed to correct me. Bonta versus Korek, Act the Boker versus Slim Kirby, Jay Coper versus Chloe Prower. So we've got a whole lineup of matches for tomorrow. So hopefully y'all will start enjoying them. And like I said, these are going on all throughout the afternoon and evening, starting at 2 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. UTC. Any final thoughts from you guys?
Not quite. Thank you once again to our trackers and for our restreamer as well. For putting this thing together, and yeah, a lot of those matches tomorrow seems really exciting, so I'm gonna have to check them out, maybe sign up for some commentary for as well.
Yeah, like Walter said, thanks a lot for restreaming, and thanks to our trackers, really thanks to everyone who's been volunteering, because there's been a lot of work to go around, and a lot of people have been stepping up. Like, Walter, thanks for jumping in at the last minute, 4 a.m. your time, to prevent me from having to do a solo gauntlet. That would have been pretty exciting.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, for those who weren't around earlier, Amazing Ampharos here solo comped the match immediately preceding this one. So shout outs to him for putting in double time tonight. And just giving a actual named shout out to our trackers, DarkRid12 and Splits Happen. Thank you guys. We would have no idea what was happening around us without you. Well, it's late at night where I'm at, very early in the morning elsewhere. I think everyone wants sleep or to, get up and face the day. So, I think I'll let you all go. Thank you very much for watching, and we'll hope you continue to enjoy the A Link to the Past Cross Keys tournament.